and welcome to our thrifty and frugal home here in Brittany in northwest France. If you are new here, my name is Jane. I am retired and living in Brittany with my husband Michael, who's behind the camera. This week's midweek money chat is very pertinent to us this week because it's all about how to cope financially with sudden job loss. You may or may not know this. Until just over a week ago, I was an online teacher teaching children in China. All that has gone. We now, as a family, Michael and I, have to completely reevaluate our finances. And here's a look at what we're going to have to do and maybe what anyone might have to do if they are suddenly faced with sudden job loss. The first point I want to raise when it comes to sudden job loss is it really may not be your fault, and I want you to accept that. The economy may change, laws may change, there may be restructuring and re-evaluation of employment strategies by employers. So first of all, I want you to take a step back from that. Those things are not your fault, nor are they anything that you can change or worry about. Never worry about the things that you cannot change. So you're going to have to deal with you. I am currently dealing with me. And the first thing I had to cope with was actually my own emotions and how I felt. I felt disappointed, I felt a sense of loss, but I had to acknowledge that how I felt, acknowledge that lots of those circumstances were beyond my control, and move on. Whilst your old job, the job that you had 5 minutes ago, is fresh in your mind, you really need to evaluate the skills that you take from that you can take anywhere. So that means you need to refresh and rephrase your CV, or as Americans would call it, your resume. And you need to then get that everywhere, every agency, LinkedIn, CV library, every single place it can possibly go. And you need to have a CV and covering letter in readiness to send out every single day to all of those updates that you will have sent to you. They will be flooded with people looking for work, but you never know, you just might be that person. So evaluate your CV, refresh it, get it up to date with all your current skills and get it out there. Now, when you get up and go to work every day, or as in my case, I just walk to my office every day, I have a certain routine, and it can be quite disorienting that routine is suddenly thrown away. But don't throw it away. Don't throw away those solid get up on time everyday routines. Get your house clean everyday routines. Cook everyday routines. They will keep you going. They will sustain you. They will give you a sense of normalcy. And they will really help you through those times. So keep your routines going. Keep it that you get up at the same time, you have the same shower every day, that you keep yourself going. It maintains that positivity, it maintains that normalcy, it maintains your positive attitude. So keep going with those secure routines. They will see you through. They really will help. Let's talk money. Let's talk budgets. Let's talk surviving. If you've never written a budget, if you've been putting this off, now is the time. You need to know all the money coming in and all the money going out. You may have gone from 2 incomes to 1 income, to 1 income to no income, or 1 pension and an income, in my case, to just the pension. But you need to reevaluate that budget. So there's the first point there, is look at your budget and reevaluate it. Now, depending on where you are in the world, there may or may not be support mechanisms in place for you to fall back upon. If you are in the UK, and I know about these circumstances, you've got to contact your mortgage company immediately. They can freeze your mortgage payments. They can put you on an interest-only mortgage for a while, but there will be or might be support mechanisms in place. If you are in the UK, you need to log on and apply for universal credit immediately. Do not delay. Get yourself into the system straight away. Can't talk about other countries. You may or may not have a support mechanism in place, but make sure you investigate it and find out where you are, because that's what you pay your taxes for. It's not just for the people who you thought that you would never be. It's you now. It's you who need that support. So take it. Get out there and make sure that you find out if there are support mechanisms, that you get them. This might seem a bit knee-jerk, but it's as good a time to do this as any. But if right now you need to start stripping away everything on that budget that isn't needed for survival. Absolutely anything and everything. You need to be getting on the internet, you need to be getting on the phone, you need to be cancelling anything and everything that isn't necessary for survival. You need to pay your rent, you need to pay your mortgage, you need to pay your utilities, your essential insurances, you need to eat, you need the internet. You absolutely need the internet for job hunting. So, anything else that you feel can go, can go. Anything that you did that you don't need to do can go. From the Sky TV package, to the big mobile phone package, to the takeaways, anything that isn't necessary can be stripped away from that budget. All of it. That might sound drastic, but it can keep you afloat. And that's what you need to do at the moment. You need to stay afloat. So anything and everything you can strip from your budget that isn't essential, let it go. Get rid of all that non-essential spending. Okay, next to housing and maybe running a car, the next biggest expense in any house is the supermarket spend, your grocery bill. You may have to drastically cut that bill. You may have to drastically evaluate that. And I'm just going to give you some quick hints and tips of how you can do that. And I'm going to run through them really quite quickly. There may be things that you just absolutely cut completely from your supermarket bill. All treats, they can go. It's only temporary. It's not the end of the world. You may turn to the freezer section. You may get rid of meat or have less meat. You may have frozen or tinned vegetables instead of fresh. Not for all of your meals, but to supplement them. You might use more beans, more rice, more pasta, more tomato-based products. All of those things. Biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody who wants to cut your bill by a third or even a half is downgrade your supermarket. So go from your major supermarket to the saver supermarket and go generic. So supermarket owned brands. Doesn't have to be forever. And that goes for things like toiletries and cleaning products too. You may not like them. Who does? But if it means you survive You've got food in the cupboard, the freezer, you can keep clean, you can keep your clothes clean. It's needs must. So reevaluate what you spend at the supermarket. Now, the next point I want to raise is I want you to consider what you are going to do with your last paycheck. Your last paycheck. And here's some examples. If you do not have an emergency fund, this is the month to put the money aside into the emergency fund. If you have no debts, if you have an emergency fund, there are things that you need to look at that you may have to spend on now. For example, and I'm going to use our example, we knew from our mechanic that the turbo on our car was about to go. We could wait for it to go and it would cause damage to the car if it did, or we can fix it now. What we decided to do, because I knew my job was going to come to an end, was get it fixed. It was a chunk of money. It was €750, but it's money well spent. Now, there are many things that you might want to spend your last paycheck on. And here's some advice you can take it if you want. Fill up your freezer. Fill up your pantry. Go and get a whole load of toiletries, cleaning materials. Put them all aside. Use that money wisely. If you already have a good pantry, if you already have a good freezer, do your teeth need fixing? Do you need new glasses? Do you need to have some medical treatment that you need to pay for? Do you need to stock up on some medication? Think wisely about what you're going to do with that last paycheck, because whatever you buy with that or put aside with that can carry you through some months of hard times. So you've cut out everything that's not essential. You've evaluated your spending at the supermarket. The next thing you need to do is look at every line on your budget and think, can I reduce that by 5%, by 10%? This is where you start looking at your energy providers, your insurance providers. This is where you get on the price comparison websites and think, can I get a better deal? If you've already got the best deal, this is where you start looking at consumption, using less electricity. Now is the time to dust off that slow cooker and use that and not the oven. This is the time to use your small toaster oven, your mini oven, and not your main oven. This is the time to be using the short wash on the washing machine. This is the time to get your laundry outside drying on the line, not in the tumble dryer. This is the time to turn the lights off. Now, when we lived in the UK, we had central heating. And I would say a comfy central heating temperature for us was 21 degrees centigrade. We'll put underneath because I'm not quite sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'll write that in the comment below. Now, I could reduce that down, and I did reduce it down to 18 degrees. And it meant that I did have to put on some warm socks and a jumper and maybe put a blanket over my lap if I was sat still, or keep active. I'm going to put a line in here. I know some of you live in areas that are so hot or so cold that it is life-threatening, and I'm not dismissing that. I'm talking about personal circumstances. But getting the cheapest deal, cutting consumption is a really, if you have to, you have to. So it's something that we're looking at right now. For example, I'll be using my slow cooker as much as I possibly can, and a shorter wash on the washing machine as much as I possibly can, because I will be looking at reducing my consumption. Now, my next part some of you might think is a bit wacky and a bit weird. But I assure you, they are things that Mike and I have done, and we are happy to continue to do. Now, one thing that we were always on the lookout for in the UK was free firewood. And we've burned some weird, wonderful things. We've cut up sheds, gates, skirting boards, joists, anything that people were giving away on Marketplace of free firewood. Now there's an example of something weird and wacky that we did. This might be the time that somebody has offered you half their allotment, that you take up on that opportunity, where you start growing your own vegetables that you may not have done before. This is where you need to keep your eyes open. On Facebook Marketplace, people do sometimes just want things gone and get rid of it. So whereas you might be thinking to yourself, well, my fridge is making that buzzing noise and it's not staying as cool as it was, this is the time that you might be looking out for a second-hand fridge that somebody's giving away for nothing, because that's your only alternative at the moment. But think outside the box, the weird and the wacky. Some people are giving things away. Go get them. They're happy for you to take them off their hands. Go get them. Now, my final point, and I don't say this glibly, is have a go. You may have to change the way you live completely, from cooking your own meals, because you were the takeaway king or queen, to looking after the house, to looking after the car, to looking after the garden, to looking after yourself. Have a go. Have a go at all of it. Have a go. Who knows what you're good at until you've tried. Now this year will be the first year that Mike and I get a vegetable garden together. It could be entertaining, difficult, or a disaster. We don't know until we have a go. But that's my final parting piece of advice to everybody, is try new things, try new ways of earning money, try new ways of saving money, try new ways of budgeting, but have a go. Well, we are the very people at the moment facing the things that I've been talking about of sudden job loss, and we're doing absolutely everything we possibly can to remain as positive as we positively can. And one thing I'm really positive about is hitting those 5,000 subscribers. I know half of you watch all the time and you're not subscribers, so come on, help us get to those 5,000 and hit that subscribe button. Really helps us if you give it a like. And you know what? I really, really love your comments. So I have a question for you. What advice would you give to anyone if they had suddenly lost their job and had to re-evaluate their budget? What advice would you give them? Just leaves me to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye for now.